Hello, and welcome to the first of 3 masterclasses given in Edinburgh by the Cuban pianist George Bolet, during which he'll be dealing with successive interpretations of a single work, the Third Piano Concerto by Sergei Rachmaninoff. It's a work which presents one of the most formidable challenges in the entire piano repertoire, but whose appeal remains enormous to pianists and audiences alike. And at the end of the masterclasses, we have the added bonus of Mr. Bollet's own performance of the concerto with the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Bryden Thompson. George Bolet stands in a direct line of descent from such keyboard giants of the past as Joseph Hoffmann, Joseph Levine, Leopold Godowsky, and Rachmaninoff himself, all pianists of the old grand school of the beginning of this century, and each linked in some way with the Curtis Institute of Philadelphia, of which Hoffmann was the director when, as a boy, George Bolet arrived to study there. Bolet's career was significantly launched at the age of 16, when he played at Carnegie Hall before an audience which included Hoffmann, Godowsky, Rachmaninoff, and Horowitz. And since then, he's traveled extensively, enjoying an international career which has seen him performing with most of the major orchestras throughout the world. In the next few months alone, he'll be playing in the Far East, in America, Canada, and London, not to mention a project to record most of the major piano works of Liszt over the next few years. But no matter how rigorous his performing schedule, he's always found time to teach and to pass on the fruits of a lifetime spent with music. 6 pianists will be taking part in the masterclasses, all of them concert pianists in their own right, and all representing various traditions of piano playing. 2 come from Britain, 2 from America, 1 from Germany, and 1 from Brazil. Ira Levin comes from Chicago, where he began his piano studies at the age of 10. He's one of the younger generation of Curtis students and has already studied for a time with George Bolet. In 1980, he won the 2nd National Chopin competition in Miami and subsequently represented the United States in the International Warsaw competition. He's also appeared with orchestras in Chicago, Philadelphia, Miami, and Caracas, and has given recitals throughout the United States, including 2 appearances at the Spoleto Festival in 1980 and 1982, and the Brevard Festival in 1980. He's broadcast in Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, and he is here playing part of the exposition of the first movement of the concerto.
All right, good. This is really one of the most difficult passages of the whole concerto to play. All right. I like some of the things that you're doing, but I think some of your accentuations are a little bit exaggerated because you're doing those things at the expense of the main melodic line. You know, it reminds me of the story of the farmer that had a mule for sale, and some city slicker came out to the farm. He had just bought a new farm and needed a mule. So the old farmer was telling him this was really a very, very unusual mule and very intelligent. Do anything you ask him, anything you want, the mule does. So they go out to the barn, and here's the mule, and the farmer goes down, picks up a 2x4 and hits the mule on the head, and he said, "But what are you doing? What? You say he's so intelligent, he does everything you want. Why do you hit him over the head like that? He said, yes, but you got to get his attention first. Well, you know, it isn't necessary to hit the listener over the head with something like that to get his attention. You can do it in a much more subtle way. Play that whole passage again. All right, good. Now, there's a line here that you're absolutely kind of neglecting and ignoring, and I really would like to hear some of it. There's another line that you can do. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, go on. I can tell you from a practical point of view, you're playing this at really quite a good clip. I think you're going to find it extremely difficult with most orchestras to play it at that tempo. For some unknown reason, the strings, they find it extremely difficult to do at a really fast tempo, the tempo that you played it. And you're going to find that there are many times when you're just going to have to be able to play it more slowly. And the worst is trying to play them at that tempo and pianissimo, because they always want to play too loud.
George Bolet's master class will continue in a moment.
touch the new Buick Riviera, and it touches you.
Step into the world of tomorrow with Hitachi, an innovative world of electronics determined to take you beyond ordinary television, where the perfect alternative between a 19 and 25-inch set has come of age. The Square View 22-inch color television, a technological stroke of genius that fits today's video demands. That's quality. That's Hitachi.
The sight, the sound of quality, a leader, Hitachi.
You never know what to expect in Connoisseur magazine each month. From Panama hats to Italian designers. Travel, fine jewelry, and theater, ballet, and opera. Art, is it real or is it fake? Fashion that endures. Fine furniture, food, and wine. What you do know is that Connoisseur will be original, uncompromising, informative, witty, beautiful, and exciting. Your guide to the civilized world. Connoisseur, because the best thing is the only thing.
Now you can subscribe to Connoisseur for a full year for just $12. That's only $1 per copy. Call 1-800-345-8500. Upon payment, you'll also receive a free copy of Thomas Hoving's The Best Quotes from Connoisseur. Call now for a year's subscription to Connoisseur plus this gift, both for just $12.
Hi, I'm Harvey Herschel Corman, inviting you to an evening at the Improv, an hour of comedy with today's hip young comedians, celebrity hosts, and surprise guests. An evening at the Improv on this station.
We return to George Bolet's Master Class.
That is the hardest thing for any orchestra to do, is a real pianissimo. It's so difficult and so marvelously satisfying, you know, musically. It's so thrilling. And of course, the hardest thing to tell a conductor is that the orchestra's too loud. And that you're going to have to find 1,000 different ways of conveying that message without actually saying the words. All right, now play me. And you know, this can get awfully notey because there's so many. So don't worry too much. All those inner chromatics. There on, you have a long progression. So start a little bit with them. Yeah, but I'm not so sure that I like the. It sounds as a tim-pa-dum, as though the last two chords were slurred. Yum pam 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 pam. There are three separate ones. Yes, good. Yeah, but that has to be terribly rhythmical, and you have to play absolutely in time. Could you play that with me? Yeah. Bam. That's it.
Many problems of interpretation in this movement are concentrated in the cadenza, which subsides after the climax into a passage in which the piano accompanies solo instruments of the orchestra.
Yeah. All right. You know, most of this you're playing at such a speed that sometimes it's hard for me to know exactly what you're playing.
Me also.
Yeah, you kind of get carried away by it. Start the cadenza again. Yeah, good. Yeah, all right, just a minute. Yes, you're playing an F sharp here. Can you start somewhere? Yes, all right, good. You do what Rachmaninoff used to do, make a big crescendo on that up. But if you're going to do that, then what you have to do is finish what you're doing and then take enough time so that you can stand. In other words, you must take a good break. I would do that, I would play that much, much lighter, much more scherzando. Good, good. We have two elements. We have these. And I feel now that you're giving much more importance to these. Try to do the opposite. you're making the change the Rachmaninoff made, but you must still play this chord in the. That is a little bit on the, how shall I say, it's a little too agitato. You have had an awful lot of fireworks, and here we have kind of a lyric, a poetic interlude.
George Bolet's Master Class will continue in a moment.
The New Yorker. It is not the ordinary person who would mean that ever was. Become a part of an American publishing tradition. Call this number and get 52 weekly issues of The New Yorker for the special price of just $25.95. Save more than $50 off the $78 cover price, a savings of 65%. Call now and also receive The New Yorker Cartoon Sampler. 48 pages of The New Yorker's famous cartoons free with your paid subscription. Get 52 weekly issues of The New Yorker and the cartoon book for just $25.95. At a price like this, you may even want to order two. Call 1-800-554-3535. 1-800-554-3535.
We return to George Bolet's Master Class.
In other words, allow the flute and the oboe and the clarinet and the horn really. Go ahead. Basically, that's fine, but I think you're taking a little bit too much time for the resolution. See if you... I get the impression that here you really want to make quite a come down. Yes. All right. But in order to have that have any kind of meaning, you have to do the other ones in a very positive manner. Really drive it up to the resolution so that you can do the reverse and make the negative accent on the other one.
George Bolet and the American pianist Ira Levin. 21-year-old Jose Fegali comes from Brazil, where he began studying the piano at the age of 4. When he was 8, he made his concert debut, having won the Brazilian Symphony Orchestra competition. He came to London in 1976 and won numerous prizes at the Royal Academy of Music, which he followed up with successes at several international competitions. At the 1978 Queen Sofia International Competition in Madrid, he took 2nd prize, 1st prize and the Outstanding Artist Award at the 1980 International Young Artist Competition in Tunbridge Wells, and 1st prize again in the 1982 Dudley Piano Competition. Unlike Ira Levin, he's never studied with George Bolet, and several different points emerged from his interpretation of the same movement.
I know, you can't do that, play with an orchestra, what you just did. Take a little more time. You have to continue absolutely the same tempo. All right, go ahead. Yeah, all right. But if you're going to do that, you really have to do it more definite. I know what you're trying to do, but the listener wouldn't know exactly what you were, or at least what you're trying to do, you're not really conveying to the listener. You're trying to do... If you do a little more, and if you do this, kind of really detached and secco, dry, then really do that real wet, use pedal, play there. Yeah, all right. That'll be doubly effective if you will do the secco much more pianissimo. Yeah, all right. See if you can do it even more detached. Good. Good. That's going to be very, very difficult for a conductor to be able to follow you. I recall Rachmaninoff solving that problem by doing this, really quite firm, a real yum, bum, bum, really accented. And that really tells the conductor exactly where you are.
Yeah, the tempo I'm going to go in with.
Any conductor, and then another thing you can tell the conductor, and this might be a help to him, and that is that you do the allargando, but the a tempo, the back to a tempo starts on the 4th beat of that measure.
Right.
In other words, I think you can take a little more time for that. Yeah, take a little more time between the little,
George Bolet's Master Class will continue in a moment.
We're very proud of Qantas. It's the airline of our country.
Australia. Of course, Australia's not a hop across the country. It's a hop across the hemispheres.
But after 65 years' experience, you know how to do it right, mate.
And on Qantas, you get to meet one of the world's rare breeds, Aussies.
So come on, you'll love Qantas. Everyone does. Well, almost everyone.
Every weeknight at 8 Eastern, Lifetime's got the hunks and the heroines. Monday, Jennifer O'Neill and John Eric Hexum star in Cover Up. Tuesday, Linda Carter and Lonnie Anderson are partners in Cry. Wednesday, Priscilla Barnes stars in The American Girls. Thursday, Angie Dickinson's The Flatfoot with the Long Legs in Cassie and Company. Friday, Love and Loss in War-Torn Hawaii. Don Johnson stars in From Here to Eternity. Hunks and heroines every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Lifetime.
Attention art investors. This is a public notice regarding the great Salvador Dali. What you are seeing is the most important graphic in the history of fine art. Be ready for this important number. Dali, the last living 20th century master, creator of Lincoln in Dali Vision, the world's most talked about graphic, now brings you the Lincoln Tapestry. Watch the magic as your sculptured lens bearing Dali's name transforms his beloved wife into Abraham Lincoln. This will be the best art investment of your life, as this large handmade tapestry appreciates in value 500% within 24 months. Investors, act now. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Quantities are limited. Phone now for your special pre-publication price on this limited edition tapestry. Toll-free 1-800-222-DALI. That's 1-800-222-3254.
Want to hear something funny? An Evening at the Improv. Now that's funny. An hour of the funniest comedy on television. An Evening at the Improv on this station every week.
We return to George Bolet's Master Class.
Yes.
Mr. Bolet, does this mean we've got to ignore the più vivo marking and the più mosso marking and the al tempo marking, which you say starts a beat before it's actually marked?
That's right. There are any number of instances where Rachmaninoff wrote something in one way, and with the practice of performance, he realized that it was the way he originally conceived it just didn't work that way. Didn't work. And I think this is one of those cases, because there is no doubt that Rachmaninoff played this all exactly in one tempo.
Much of this masterclass centered around the problem of putting this particular interpretation together with an orchestra, mainly from the point of view of frequent tempo changes.
I noticed that when you're playing solo, alone, you're playing at a certain tempo. But then there's a bassoon that comes in, and then the violins have also a melodic line together with you, and so on. And I feel that in those places you're going faster. I would keep this whole thing really quite at the same. Once you get to the big climax, you know, the big crescendo to the big climax, there you can do anything you want. There you can push if you want. But until then, I would really play quite evenly. Play the whole from. Again, you know, you're playing, it sounds fine because you're playing alone, but when you're playing this with an orchestra, you really have to maintain a tempo.
You mean from this, from the bits of the climax and the new?
Here you can do a. That's very clear, very understandable, but from here. You must really do anything you want with dynamics. Go up, come down, shape the phrases, but keep the tempo even.
Sorry.
The question of tempo emerged once again later in the movement, but this time in the cadenza, when the piano is no longer limited by the constraints of keeping together with the orchestra.
Good. I can respect your point of view. Personally, I like it a little bit more steady, rhythmically. I mean, you're kind of taking time, and then you rush, and so on. However, the one thing you cannot do is to take it at such a clip that you can't keep it up.
You mean especially this cadenza?
No, I mean from here. Especially from here. Because when you get here, you really can't slow up. Because the impression you're giving, things are getting complicated. He can't go quite that fast. He has to slow up. Okay, I won't argue with that. I think it's a valid point of view, and you do it very well. The only thing is that here, you know, at the D major arpeggios, all I hear is this. I don't hear. See if you can do more.
George Bolet's Master Class.
It'll help you immeasurably if you don't whack those notes. Right.
One of George Bolet's characteristics as a teacher is his insistence that the student must develop his own interpretation of a work. In order to do this, however, the student must, of course, know what he's trying to convey and why.
Good. Now look, tell me at a place like this, for example, just what do you envision that you really want to savor, that you want to convey to the listener the beauties of this particular passage? Wherein lie the...
Well, I think what I was trying to convey here is that I play this, as you said, I mean, nebulously, and here is a kind of oasis, you know. It sort of suddenly springs out.
Yeah,
and then
all
it
right.
goes back again into the come prima.
All right, good. Basically, that's a very good idea. Very good idea. But wherein consists the beauty of this? What gives this thing a particular importance?
How do you call it? It's kind of appoggiatura into the...
Yeah, but why should that 16th note be important at all?
Because it's so dissonant.
Exactly. All right. Now that you know what's involved, let's see how you play it. Yeah, all right. But you see, now you're playing, you're giving everything so much importance that you aren't really telling me what you consider particularly important. Huh? Look, all performance is communication. I define music as the art of communication between two people by means of musical sounds. So whatever you're doing at the keyboard, you're telling them in musical terms, in musical sounds, exactly what you're thinking or what the composer thought. Now you have to find out what the beautiful thoughts of the composer were, and then you have to play them in such a way that you are communicating to the listener what you're doing. But you have to play it in such a way that it's like actually telling the listener, listen to this, isn't this beautiful? Listen to this melodic, the shape of this melodic line, the transition of this harmonic progression. Listen to the Rachmaninoff recording, and I'm sure that you will find that he does some things that are just absolutely so breathtaking. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Hello, and welcome to the second of this series of 3 masterclasses given by the Cuban pianist George Bolet. All the classes are concerned with a single work, the massive third piano concerto by Sergei Rachmaninoff. It's perhaps one of the most taxing works in the entire piano repertoire, as much from the point of view of the pianist's stamina as his technique and musicianship. In the first masterclass, George Bolet worked with the American pianist Ira Levin and a young Brazilian pianist, José Fegali, on the first movement. Today, 2 different pianists present him with their interpretation of the second movement, the lyrical intermezzo. The British pianist, Philip Smith, received the majority of his piano tuition at the Royal Academy of Music in London. He entered at the age of 11, became a full-time student 5 years later, winning several prizes and fellowships, and in addition to radio and television broadcasts, he's given recitals and concert performances at several international festivals. Philip became known to television audiences in Britain when he was a semi-finalist and prize winner in the 1978 Leeds International Piano Competition. Here he is playing the first section of the slow movement.
I wish we had the time to be able to play the whole thing all the way through, but unfortunately we have to take things by sections. The first impression that I get from hearing you play this is that you're taking a great deal of time for certain things which I don't think are really quite that important. As I mentioned at the first session, you know, we're communicating, we're talking to the listener, and we're trying to show the listener and have the listener be aware of all those very beautiful things which exist in the music. If we take time for anything, be careful that the music, that the pace of the music does not disintegrate to the extent that, you know, everything kind of seems to stop. Hmm? We must always have, even when we make the biggest alargando, we must always have that sense of forward movement. The great Tabuteau, Marcel Tabuteau, who was solo oboe of the Philadelphia Orchestra for a great many years. I was very privileged in working under him for 4 years. And one of his favorite expressions is, music must travel. Hmm? Always keep that in mind.
George Bolet's Master Class will continue in a moment.
Your introduction, and naturally this has to be played freely, and hopefully the orchestra won't be playing too slowly so that you can, you know, really push. Already much, I think it's really much better overall shape. Hmm? Now, another thing that is that I think you're making a little bit too, you know, of that inside line. I know that Rachmaninoff wrote a dash on it, which he definitely, but I think these, that is really such a beautiful line. I don't think we should throw it away. See if you can do both. Huh? Give us... Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Ya-da-da-da. Huh? Yeah, all right. I have heard it played that way many times, but really you know, what does that thing mean? Da da dee da da bee ba 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 ba. It's just 2 bars. You're creating a mood for what's coming. Hmm? See if you like the idea of just play that very simply, very quietly, very evenly. Don't do anything. You know, there is a great art in doing nothing. Hmm? Literally. I must tell you, for years and years, I wanted to play the Chopin F minor ballade. Hmm? But the one thing about that ballade that just absolutely floored me was the introduction. What do you do in the introduction? I tried this, I tried that. I tried everything I could possibly think of to make that introduction, shall I say, meaningful. And then one day, I was just thinking about it, and I said, of course, very simple solution. 1 word, nothing. Don't do anything. Just play the notes as simply as you can, and don't try to make anything out of it. And then when the main melodic line comes, all of a sudden, the piece kind of seems to start sprouting to life. Try those 2 bars and don't do anything. Yeah, all right, good. Basically, it's good, but I think it's really a little bit too slow. You know, almost every melodic line seems to be a stopping place. See if you can play it now. Even some of the triplets, compress some of the triplets. Yeah, that you can play faster also. Don't dawdle over it. There are many devices that we have at our disposal in romantic music, especially ultra-romantic music like this. A very powerful one is emphasizing a special melodic line by rolling the chord that leads to it. Another one is a principle that I learned from Godowski, and that is that whenever you have, two melodic lines simultaneously, one with the other, especially where one ends and the other one begins, don't play those two notes together, but separate them. In other words, play one first and then the other one. Look. All right, play that again. I don't expect you to play it. I don't really like to play for my students, because eventually they're going to imitate me and do exactly what I do. I don't want you to do exactly what I do, but I just want you to kind of realize the principles involved and then do it in your way.
George Bolet's master class will continue in a moment.
An evening at the Improv on this station every week.
We return to George Bolet's master class.
All right, play it again from B.
A number of special problems of interpretation in the second movement are encountered in the powerful middle section, a point at which the music builds up to one of Rachmaninoff's typical big tunes.
All right. You know, this is one of those spots in the literature that can get awfully noisy. If you know what I mean. Ba, 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 you know, chord after chord after chord after chord. We have to find some way of making this as lyric and as melodic as we possibly can. And in order to do that, there are an awful lot of things that we really have to subdue. I think you're playing the whole thing at a tremendously high dynamic level, and you're not taking advantage of going down on your dynamic level in some places so that you can rise again. And then when you do really get to the big climax, you have been there already quite some time. So it's really not a climax, it's not a high point. It kind of becomes a very high altitude mesa. Play me again from bom, dee, da, 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 from here. That's infinitely better. You know what you were trying to do. All right, good. I realize exactly what you were trying to do. But now, the way you played it, the first statement, I don't think I would come down in that. Keep it at a good, big, dynamic level. Here. Used to do that, and it was absolutely breathtaking. Do a piano. Because that's your first high point, huh? So the whole thing has to really work up to that. All right, play it again. That's really, you have no idea how much better that is. That's fine. That's very good. The only thing is you can't roll that chord. You have to do otherwise. This has absolutely no impact. It has no power. Hmm? Another thing is when you start making your diminuendo, you start getting slower. Don't get slower. Just make a diminuendo, but keep that. Can you take it from the first high point? Yeah. Ba-dee. Yeah. Da-da. The big alargando that you want, huh? Really very exciting. Play from here.
Smith with his interpretation of that big climax.
George Bolet's master class will continue in a moment.
The other pianist taking part in this class is the American Marc Antonio Baroni. He's only 20, and to date he's won a number of local, national and international competitions. He received his earliest musical training from his mother, and at the age of 10 began to study at the Curtis Institute. He's already performed with many orchestras in the United States, including the Philadelphia, the Baltimore Symphony and the St. Louis Symphony, and he made his South American debut in Venezuela in 1980. Since then, he has also been a member of the staff at the Bryn Mawr Conservatory of Music in Pennsylvania. His interpretation of this movement is in contrast to the one we've just heard, a slightly different mood, and on the whole, a faster tempo.
That's very good. But when you do ti da 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 da, I wouldn't wait quite so long. It sounds as though, almost as though you're not quite sure of what's coming. After yam da ya ba 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 ba, and then go.
Yes.
Don't stop on the end. Play. There are some things that we do, and if we're going to do them, we have to do them in a very definite way, so that there is no mistaking what we're trying to do and what we're trying to make the listener be aware of. Hmm? And this is one place.
Right.
You're trying to do something with that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's the impression you gave me.
Right.
Yes, but you aren't doing it in a very convincing way.
I see.
Hmm? If you're going to do it, fine. I do it also. I really played that very, very big. Because I think it's a beautiful line. All right, so now play it like the beautiful line it is, and let us really enjoy it as much as you do. in order for us to relish that line, you don't really have to stop. Hmm? See if you can sing it. Hmm? You have. And go on. All right. Go on. Hmm? I get the impression that you want all right, that's fine, but there is so much else going on. I mean, you have me. I think in that really has to be much more important than the secondary. Okay. Yes. In other words, think of those two melodic lines as being the principal one, the top one, the inside one, the secondary one, and then the other one as being just an additional embroidery, ornamentation. You know, I hear an awful lot of notes. This is what I hear. And it's really you see the difference. In other words, too much of the unessential and not enough of the essential. So play me the essential and then let the non-essential just be kind of part of the background. Play there.
Having spent a lifetime on the concert platforms of the world, George Bolet is in the enviable position of being able to offer innumerable practical hints and pieces of advice for putting the solo part together with an orchestra. With this work in particular, he has a fund of tips and well-tried tricks of the trade, which he's always eager to pass on.
The one thing that I find a little disturbing is that, especially in this place, all through here, rhythmically it's a very difficult spot because you're playing in a triple time. Right. You're playing dee da dee ba dee dam 1 2 3 1 2, and the poor orchestra is playing da dee da dam ba da dee dam. So it's really one place where you have to make every effort to play as rhythmically in tempo, in time, as you possibly can. All right. Another place that I find a little bit, I know you're trying to play very freely, and that's all very good, but don't get the misconception that in order to play freely, you have to play faster and slower and, huh?
Yeah.
You can play very freely and still play with a very, very even, flowing tempo.
Yes.
This is the place that I mean. All that can be, now you're, now.
Yes.
If you can make those 16th notes play. All right, play me from here. You're the only other pianist I've ever known who plays the Ossia. Everybody plays the other one. But I like the Ossia much better. I didn't tell Philip this, but I'll tell you. And he's listening. I heard Rachmaninoff play this passage so marvelously. And these 16th notes he really compressed. You like it?
Yes.
George Bolet's Master Class will...
Right.
Okay. All right. Play there. Much less. That's fine. Now what? Chords. Go. This. When you get to the big climax, try not to get too involved in doing this. Huh?
All right.
If you can really do that all in. And then this is one place where you really should push.
All right.
Don't really take so much time. Because in the big climb, this is just a small climax, huh?
Right.
A temporary one.
Yes.
But then in the big one is where you can really take the time, but I wouldn't spread the triplet. Dee da dee da dee da da ba 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 dee da ba ba.
Right. Okay.
That's all right. That's very good. There is one thing here, and that is that I think you could really do.
Yes.
Do a little something more with.
Right.
Play from the big clavier. Like that? It's much more. I'll show you afterwards exactly what it is, but Rachmaninoff used to really tore them apart. All right, play from the big clavier.
One of the distinguishing features of this movement is the variety of emotions through which the music travels. And at this point, the mood changes to a lighter vein, more playful in character, and posing subsequently different problems for the soloist. All right. Now you're doing the opposite of what Philip did, and basically what you do is very good. However, I think the whole scherzando, your articulation is beautiful. The way you do the things that you do are fine, but I think the whole thing is at a too high a dynamic level.
All right.
I think if you can do exactly what you're doing, but just bring the whole thing so that it has a real, you know, there must never be a heavy feeling. Yeah. Everything must be light and just real frothy.
Yeah.
Play there from. one thing that I would say is that yata-ta-tam, pam, 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 pam. You know, you're going to find that every orchestra wants to do that, and I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Yata-ta-tam. Really broaden the triplet and then the eighth note. Play it again. In fact, I add a note to this thing, you know.
I see.
Which sounds better. There are more D's.
Right.
Good, bravo.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
When we return, we will present an interview with George Bolet, conducted by our host, Robin Ray.
I want to bring you back to your urtext theories, which have earned you criticism in some musical quarters. People have said harsh things about you because you have been prepared to say that not only have the pedagogues and the overzealous guardians of musical textural fidelity, not only have they been responsible for us missing music like that, but they have been responsible for the great masterpieces which have been played regularly and are played regularly and survive, being interpreted in too narrow a way by the younger generation of pianists? Am I misrepresenting you when I put it like that?
To a certain extent, yes. No, I mean, you're not misrepresenting. What you say is what you say is true. You know, as you have mentioned, I have been accused of many things. I think you will find that anyone that has ever studied with me will tell you that no one has a greater respect for the written text of a composer than I. Now, that is not the reputation that I have. The reputation that I have acquired somehow is that I have absolutely no respect for what a composer wrote. I believe in playing things the way I want or the way I think, and that is really not the case at all. Look, let me put it this way. You know, a composer writes a piece of music, and naturally it's a moment of creation, the greatness and the mystery of which we can never even start to comprehend. Fine. How long is a composer involved in the creation of work? Some composers write very fast, other composers write very slowly. All right. Let's say that a composer writes a piece of music, a piano sonata. Good. And in the process of creation, he is very definitely, very closely involved with this work for a period of a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months, a year. Fine. He finishes the work, and then he goes on to other creations. Now, comes the performer, and we take that piece of music, and we study it, and we learn it, and we learn all the notes, and we practice it so that we can play everything, and we perform it, and then we let it rest a while, and then we perform it again, and we take out the music, and we relearn it, and rework it, and restudy, and so on. Now, how long are we involved with that particular work of art? A lifetime. You know, I'm playing things today that I learned when I was 13, 14 years old. Now, if after a lifetime of study and performance, which after all is the bottom line of the creation of the composer, am I being too presumptuous to think that perhaps I know that particular creation of that composer even better than he did after a lifetime of involvement with the work, you know, making it into an absolutely a real personal part of your whole musical being and your whole musical thinking?
That is a very powerful argument and very powerfully expressed. But how do you discipline yourself to not allow the liberties which you take to become excesses? How do you recognize the difference?
Well, that, I'm afraid, you cannot explain in just a short chat. That is something that has to be how shall I put it, has to be, what is it that you do with metal, purify?
Well, yes, I know what you mean, but I can't find the word either. Distilled, sort of.
Yes, you know, it has to be
distillation.
distilled. It has to kind of be filtered through your whole musical thinking, your whole culture of music. I think that the only way that you should be able to say that you play a composer's piece well, if I may use the term, is if you know the rest of the output of the composer. You know, in order to play any Beethoven sonata well, or in a style which really befits the grandeur and the genius of Beethoven, I think you really have to study all the rest of the sonatas. You have to study the variations, the concerti, the everything. Study the symphonies,
It's a question of perspective.
Yes, then you get a kind of an overall picture and an idea of what this creator's mind was and how he thought musically, and all those things you have to absorb, and you have to make it part of your own personality and way of thinking in playing that music.
I think that your students are in very safe hands, George Bolet.